This is segment 5, and it is COVID-19 part 2. So 3 things also in this segment. I want to talk about what COVID-19 is, and then touch on conspiracy theories, because I think that's very important, especially in this time. And then how COVID-19 fulfills prophecy. So, now, what is COVID-19? Obviously, I'm not a scientist, but a Chinese scientist who specializes in coronaviruses, a specialist in the field, said that this COVID-19 that we have is a Frankenstein virus. Frankenstein virus, in other words, it's an amalgamation of different strains, gene strains, to make it very infectious. I like analogies, so I'm gonna use one. Sort of like taking a Toyota Corolla, no offense to Corolla, and then putting it like Ferrari's racing engine and run it in, jet fuel, and then put some drag racing tires in it. So yeah, highly infectious, not in its natural form. So somebody tampered with it. In other words, this COVID-19 that we have, so for Christians who are worried about like the COVID-19 vaccines, are they the mark of the beast, or do they contain some kind of thing related to the mark of the beast? I want to say this: you cannot get the mark of the beast through the vaccine. I'll say it again: you cannot get the mark of the beast through the coronavirus vaccine. So if you have concerns about the vaccine, let them be for like scientific reasons, because you don't trust how it was made, or the side effects or the aftermath of the long term, whatever it's going to do in the long term. Maybe in time it'll turn you into a vampire, or who knows, or some kind of zombie or something, I don't know. So let your concerns be of something of that nature, but nothing spiritual. Your concerns, let them be scientific, as a scientific product. The vaccines haven't been vetted long enough or tested long enough. So those are the concerns that you can apply, but not anything spiritual pertaining to it. So they have no bearing whatsoever when it comes to salvation in the vaccines. So you can rest easy there. Now, and also Christians. There are Christians that, kind of vilify the ones that don't want to wear masks because they have good faith in divine protection. So leave them alone, please. They're exercising their faith. Leave them alone. They have divine protection. Therefore, they don't need a vaccine. It's a matter of religious freedom. It is a matter of freedom of conscience. Freedom of conscience. So leave them alone. Yeah. And I'm one of those that get a lot of, hey, why aren't you wearing a mask? My faith is there. My faith is there. So, yeah, folks, And I'm not trying to boast here, but if Paul was here, me and him would be hanging out, looking at the snake. I'm sorry I had to go there, but yeah, and okay, let me put a simple question. If you're in a church today and the Christ himself walks into the church, would you say, hey God, would you please put a mask on? There's a virus out here. Absolutely not. But here's the thing. The Holy Spirit in the Christ is the same one in the holy believer, in the righteous believer. Now, if you are a believer, or no, let me put it this way, if you're a Christian and you're not righteous and you're not holy, then by all means, wear the mask, okay? And be very scared of the virus, okay? Be very scared of the devil. Be very scared of everything because you're not righteous, because you're not holy. But leave those that are holy alone. Leave those that are righteous alone. Leave those that are exercising faith alone. Thank you. Now, back to the virus itself. If, pertaining to the mark of the beast thing, if the vaccine came with some kind of compulsion or a statute that if you take the vaccine, then you're obligated to acknowledge some kind of figure, the Pope, the Antichrist, or some kind of government, leader, or the president, or something of that nature, then it becomes a mark of the beast, a mark of something, because there's an obligation that comes with it, a mandate, a force to worship that's associated with it. In that situation, then it would become some kind of mark of the beast thing. So, but if there's nothing associated with it, it's just a scientific product, then go ahead and take it if you feel like taking it. If your faith is strong enough, hey, exercise your faith. And so, conspiracy theories. Here, I want to touch on a few things. People often ignore conspiracy theories. They ignore the fact there's many people and organizations that sit around all day and devise ways to control their lives and enslave them, to enslave the masses. Groups like the Jesuits, Illuminati, CIA, Zionists, Freemasons, the Vatican, Bill Gates and his population reduction plans, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, World Economic Forum folks, the IMF, UN Agenda 21, and their sustainable development programs, Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, Google, big tech, robotics, and AI companies, etc. All these guys, while they portray their causes and their organizations that maybe they're good and noble, that's just a disguise, They act like they have the best interest at heart for the advancement of all of mankind. They don't. They're evil and they're vile, and there's a lot of demonic forces behind these organizations. So people be careful. The people in these organizations don't have the same moral standards as the normal human being, So thinking that these folks process reality the same way that you do, that's very naive, and it's a grave deception and a mistake. So don't do that. They're not normal. They may appear to be normal, but they're not. They're Luciferian, and that should tell you something. You have them in these militaries, in the governments, laboratories, in the banks, politics. They perform eugenics experiments. They're doctors and scientists. They perform these eugenics experiments on human beings, and even the Tuskegee experiments. So these are the same folks who determine that one race is inferior and another race is superior. The whole Hitler mindset thing, and that certain genetic traits should be wiped out, and they carry out vile acts, genocides, all of these things, Holocaust. The thing is, they get away with it though, because they also own the media and they own the police. So yeah, and they own the intelligence community. So yeah, it's just a corruption. So people and organizations do conspire all the time and then act on whatever they conspire to do. So conspiracy theory is it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's not a bad label or word. The people that label it to look and sound bad is those people that have something to hide, to cover up those conspiracy facts, Now, let me go through a few conspiracy theory facts, things that have happened in history that were conspired. Okay, they were conspired and done. So you can call them conspiracy theories, but they're also conspiracy theory facts, things that have happened. I'll list 10 of them quickly, real quick. Number one, the Rockefellers funded Hitler and his scientists to kill the Jews in the gas chambers. Look it up in your history. Look it up. It's all of this that I'm about to tell you is public information. Okay, just look it up. Number two, Hitler's scientists got hired in the CIA and other private organizations after World War II. Number three, World War I, World War II were not about the wars. They were not really about war itself. And even the deaths of over 60 million soldiers and over 66 million civilians that died in relation to these wars. These wars were about making billions and billions of dollars through the sale of oil and weapons and technology, and the bankruptcy of the countries that were affected by the wars, because especially the IMF, they profit when countries' central banks go bankrupt, because they can then take over that country and then also take over the mineral and natural resources of that country. So, and they do that a lot with the African countries and in the Middle East. So yeah, that's why there's endless wars. And then point number four, World War I and World War II, they were also part of Albert Pike's planned template for shaping the world's mentality toward accepting the coming Luciferian world. Read on Albert Pike. Find a history book on him. Read the whole thing. A vile dude. Now, number five, the strong documentation. There was even a movie made on this, that 9/11 was planned by the Illuminati, and the Bush Jr. Was to let it all happen once he took over as president. And so now the Illuminati, they brought us this COVID-19. Now I think they were hoping that Hillary would have been president, so that they could exacerbate the situation and destroy every infrastructure, and then they could implement the mark of the beast right away. But that didn't happen. God interrupted their plans for a little bit and delayed them. So God intervened for Christians. So number six is, in their State of the Union addresses, Bush Sr., Clinton, Bush Jr., and Obama have expressed their support for the Luciferian World Order agenda that is being carried out, everywhere. So yeah, go listen to those. Yeah, go listen to those. You'll find a lot of juicy stuff. So point number seven, you have Ronald Reagan. He had initially not wanted to run with Bush Sr. as his running mate, but the Illuminati gave Reagan a warning shot, like literally, and then he suddenly embraced Bush Sr. So these guys don't play. These guys don't play. Man. Number eight, in the late 1800s, Albert Pike, a Jesuit Freemason, he came up with a plan and a template to bring about the Luciferian New World Order world, after discussing it with his buddy Giuseppe Mazzini, a Jesuit Illuminati. So then the Vatican Jesuits, and the Illuminati and the Freemasons, they're one unit. So they've been carrying out this template since the inception of the idea and the formula. So World War I began exactly as Pike had suggested. An Austrian diplomat was murdered by the Illuminati, and then another country was framed for the murder, and blamed for it. And so then they were pitted against another country where the diplomat came from, Austria. I forgot these countries, but then alliances were formed. And so then World War I started. So, and the outcome of World War I was exactly as Albert Pike had suggested in his template. So the Illuminati carried out all of that exactly as it had been suggested, the start of the war and the outcome of the war. And the same thing happened in World War II. it began and ended the way that Albert Pike had suggested. They did exactly everything down to the letter. And now they're planning World War III. And Pike suggested that it should be the worst and bloodiest war in all of human history. That the countries should fight themselves to exhaustion. He suggested that the war should be initiated between a confrontation of the Christians and the Muslims. So, and that after the war, the Luciferian world should then be established. Luciferianism should be the new religion, eliminating Christianity and Islam, and also atheism. So, yeah, that's their plan to do that. So far, everything is going according to their plan, and there's no reason to suggest that things would change now. So now, personally, I think they might bring about World War III maybe around 2025, in about 4 years, I think, between 2025 and 2027. Because from doing a lot of math, calculating some things, on the patterns that come up when you observe and follow the activity that they do. So I'm leaning toward 2025, between 2025 2027. So it's not a prophecy. It's a wisdom thing. Take it as something in advisement. I don't know, something of that nature. But if it would be true, that means Christians, everybody should be trying to get to a safe place now, and have very strong reasons to suggest that it would happen around that time. Anyway, now point number 9 is still on the conspiracy things. Klaus Schwab, the guy who just put out his reset plans, global reset or the Great Reset, from his outlines and plans, it is evident that the subject of like global warming and climate change and the whole Build Back Better thing that was adopted by Biden as his campaign slogan. So you see where these guys go. They go to the World Economic Forums and meet with the Illuminati and all these guys, and then they come back into politics in America and they make these slogans and stuff. So you know where Biden is being, yeah, and you know who's paying his campaign, you know who's funding him, and that tells you his mentality and where he's going and what he'll do, because there's no way that Biden will go and meet with Klaus Schwab and take his slogans from Klaus Schwab and then not do what Klaus Schwab has suggested for him to do, when it comes to policy and stuff in politics. So, and now they're planning at the tail end of this COVID-19 thing, they're planning to build concentration camps and call them green smart cities with their whole UN sustainable development programs and the Green New Deals and Building Back Better, yeah, corruption. And so they plan to make with these concentration camps, I call them, because that's what they are, the green smart cities. They plan to make the masses peasants and the workforce for the Luciferian World Order elite folks. So, and another thing when it comes to like climate change and global warming, why would the Vatican hold a religious summit? Okay, they did this a few years ago. They held a religious summit, and then they came up with a document where they brought, the world religions together, like almost all the world religions, Baha'i, Islam, Christianity, all of them, Lutherans, Presbyterians, everybody was there, even Buddhists. and they signed this document that says that going forward, no sovereign government should make war except on the grounds of climate change. That makes no sense, right? Unless climate change and global warming are a disguise for something else. Totalitarian efforts by the Vatican. And they've always been doing that. History on the Vatican is just about that. These guys have been trying to rule the world since the beginning, and ruling over Jerusalem since the beginning. That's why the Antichrist Pope from the Vatican will go there in Jerusalem and take it by force, the temple, and then start the final tribulation when the Jews refuse to acknowledge him. So, but that's a subject for another day. I will touch on that too. Now, point number 10 on this conspiracy theory things. In heaven, okay, which is, this one is a good point to be the last one on the conspiracy theories. In heaven, about 6,000 years ago, actually, a cherub who was named Lucifer, who had been greatly honored by God, he conspired to overthrow God's government. And he carried out his actions, his plans, but he failed. He failed to overthrow God, which is an impossible thing. It is very impossible. And he was too proud that he corrupted his wisdom, and so he wasn't thinking straight because he was too proud. But even though he failed, he was able to convince a third of heaven's angels to rebel. This is billions and billions and billions of angels. So they rebelled against the Creator, the God of all that exists, the God of the whole universe. They rebelled against him. But because of grace and mercy, God didn't destroy them right away, because there's also a lesson that we have to learn about evil and sin. And it's a hard lesson, man. You're looking around the world, it's a hard lesson. It's a lesson that I know I never want to learn again, never want to go through again. I wish that the Christ would come today and wrap things up. But he's set the time in his heavenly calendar, and the 12 Jubilees are past. We are now on that allocated last generation of the time of the end, where the Antichrist rules, and after that it's a wrap. And one generation is 40 years. So yeah, that tells you where we are. Things are wrapping up really quick. Yeah, and I'm happy about that, very happy about that. Can't wait to get to heaven and take a long nap. Can't wait to get to heaven and take a long I'm tired, man. I'm tired. Anyway, so yeah, conspiracy theories are real, and they're being carried out every minute of every day. It is being naive to dismiss them, and in fact, it's very dangerous for you here and now, and also, for your future. So there are people and organizations that sit around all day long, and just plan your life while you are binge watching something, or eating donuts, or things of that nature. Watching your favorite shows. There's people that sit around and just think about how they're gonna control you, how they're gonna make you a slave. And that's what they do all day long, and they make millions of dollars doing that. And people give them the information. They say, yeah, this is where I go at 4 o'clock every day. This is what I eat every lunch. This is how long I spend in the bathroom. This is what I search on the internet. This is everything about me. Here, control me. All this information through the gadgets and all these things. People, wisen up. Go back to the Stone Age if you have to. Forget the phones. Leave them at home sometimes. Take a walk without the phones. I don't know, something. But the Luciferian Old Order is conspiring to take out all the governments of the world so that they can rule and they're using the IMF to take out a lot of these governments, and everything will be run by the Luciferian World Order, private banks and companies, corporations, which eventually the Antichrist Pope will be head of everything. But these things are happening, and the mark of the beast will start before even the Antichrist shows up. The Antichrist doesn't have to be revealed for there to be the mark of the beast officially implemented. And that's one very important thing that I want people to know. Now, how does COVID-19 fulfill prophecy? Let me touch on 2 points here real quick and say, the one question that a lot of folks wonder is, will COVID-19 go away? Okay, let me start with that and then answer how it fulfills prophecy. So COVID-19 will eventually go away, okay, because we still have a few things that prophetically it would interfere with, like the Great Revival, the latter rain. Okay, that has to happen because God is determined for that to happen, the revival. The Revelation's first angel says, return and worship God, the creator of everything. This is the time of his judgment. Worship him who made the heavens and the earth and everything in them. And so, and that coincides with the gospel getting to the ends of the world, and the prophecy of Joel, that at the time of the end, God will pour out his spirit upon all flesh, and young folks will prophesy, old men will dream dreams. So that prophecy still has to be fulfilled to its fullest. So COVID-19 would interfere with that. So eventually COVID-19 has to go away. But the question becomes, how long will it be around? And the answer to that is COVID-19 will be around as long as the people that put it in place need it for as a mechanism to control people, to channel the world to that place where they want everybody to go to. So COVID-19 is like a temporary control mechanism while they're working on a permanent control mechanism. So once they establish their permanent control mechanism, then they can get rid of COVID-19 overnight, basically. So if you look at the lesson of COVID-19, okay, it had been around for a whole year, right? And then they say, oh, now we have a vaccine. But as soon as they mention vaccine, they say, oh, but wait, we got variants coming up. We got variants. So then there's an uncertainty there, and how effective the vaccines would be against the new variants, so that they can continue to perpetuate this confusion and state of unease. So, and that's what they're doing. And then it was, okay, then maybe we need to upgrade and have some booster vaccines, So you see where this whole thing is going, just playing back and forth, to keep this COVID-19 thing around for as long as possible, to maintain a constant state of fear. That's what they're doing. And you have the pharmaceutical companies, a lot of them, they're Luciferian New World Order. They're part of the Luciferian New World Order system. Folks like Johnson & Johnson, they poison folks. They're no good. But anyway, they have these pharmaceutical companies. They have no incentive at all to end COVID-19 permanently. They don't. They are raking in billions of dollars. So they can keep doing this for the longest time, come up with another vaccine, and then come up with a different variant, come up with a vaccine for that. So they keep raking in billions. While the Luciferian New World Order partners in the technology sector, they keep making all these, surveillance, high-tech surveillance infrastructure that they're building, and making this unescapable web of surveillance and human movement control, restriction in there. Install those restriction things on the movement of people to control everything. So yeah, it's just a partnership that is going on forever. It's going to go on for as long as they want it to go on. But at the time when God, then begins the revival. COVID-19 will have to end. It's as simple as that, because what God has determined that happens. And then, so in prophecy, how COVID-19 fulfills prophecy. I'll say this up front: COVID-19 is not part of the trumpets of Revelation or the plagues of the book of Revelation. So COVID-19 is not the trumpets, it's not part of the trumpets, it's not part of the plagues, but it is a general pestilence. So you have Matthew 24 and also Revelation 6 that talks about the seals. In both instances you find what we call the signs of the times, things like wars and rumors of wars, hungers, famines, pestilences, or plagues. Then you have earthquakes in various places, all these things. So COVID-19 is just like one of those general pestilences, like the Black Death Plague, like the AIDS virus, like the flu virus, like MERS, SARS, all those things. So West Nile virus, that kind of plague, pestilence, but it has no specificity when it comes to the book of Revelation itself at all. In the Bible you have man-made, in nature you have had man-made and natural famines, and so then you also have man-made and natural pestilences. So you have man-made famines as a result of wars, then you have natural famines as a result of extended drought, and then you also have natural pestilences like the Black Death Plague, and mosquito-borne diseases. The swine flu, those kinds of things, natural diseases, pestilences. But you also have something that is man-made, manufactured, like the COVID-19, that is said to have been made in a lab. So there are instances like that. Now, when it comes to the mark of the beast, I want to clarify this too, that often Christians discuss the mark of the beast as though the mark of the beast and the final tribulation as though these are events that happen at the same time, and the mark of the beast happens during the final tribulation. That's not biblically accurate. The final tribulation comes later. The mark of the beast is imminent. The final tribulation comes as a result of what happens in Jerusalem. The mark of the beast comes because this Luciferian New World Order folks are trying to control the whole world. Basically, that's it. But they overlap. The mark of the beast and the final tribulation, they do overlap because they're brought about by the same system. So at some point I'll explain all that. Now, if I should make an analogy, I'd say the final tribulation, it comes later. Suppose that it's a super volcano that they say, it's going to take half of the world back into the ice age, and it's going to happen in like 3.5 months, but 3 days from now there's an asteroid the size of the same one that wiped out the supposed dinosaurs, that supposedly wiped out the dinosaurs. Something that big is about to hit in 3 days. So you have 3.5 months versus 3 days. That means when the asteroid hits, everything on ground everywhere is wiped out. That means that now get in a bunker right now, spiritually speaking. So the mark of the beast, get in the bunker, spiritually speaking, now. Escape the mark of the beast now. That's what I'm trying to say. So in all of this, the deep question is about COVID-19 is that since so many people are so terrified and even defecating their themselves out of fear, spoiling their pants out of fear, the deeper question becomes, how much more terrified are they going to be with all these other things that are coming? just besides the trumpets themselves and the plagues of the book of Revelation. That's terrifying just by itself, but there's a whole lot of stuff that's coming before then. Anyway, the only wise thing to do is to shelter yourself in the Christ. I think that is heaven's recommendation, and I support it myself. So yeah. Anyway, I don't want to drag this segment too long. It's been long enough already, but I tried to cover a lot of things in it. So remember, you can contact me, like the video, share it, please comment if you want, evangelize with me. I'd appreciate that, and thank you for taking the time to watch and listen. And remember to go and do whatever the Christ has called you to do while it is day, because the night comes, man. It's right around the corner. And be holy because God is holy, and no one will see the Christ without holiness. So the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you all. Amen. And I'll see you in the next segment, talking about Daniel 3.